Well, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Dave, and I'm one of the owners and operators of Homeschool Tracker. And just want to start just by saying thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know that there are a lot of other things you could be doing at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, so we would greatly appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day to learn a little bit more about Homeschool Tracker and how to better utilize it in your homeschool. One of the things here that we love to think about at Homeschool Trackers that our mission is really not just to provide you the tools and resources to be more successful in your homeschool, but also to give you the training and support necessary so that you can use those tools in your homeschool. And so that's what webinars like tonight are really all about, just giving you guys the support and the training that you might need to go out there and to use Homeschool Tracker effectively in your home. So again, just thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. A few housekeeping notes. We are recording this, and as soon as the recording is available, we will certainly email a link to it for all of you. Also, we are set to go for about an hour or so, and then happy to answer any and all questions you might have after that. So if you do have questions, feel free to submit those in that Q&A button there in your viewer, and we will address those at the end. So let's go ahead and dig in. I want to cover a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight. So the first thing we'll discuss is where to find help within Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll go over a little bit of the interface, just kind of get a quick tour of where things are. Then we'll talk about the difference between subjects and courses and how to set those up in your account. Then we'll discuss assignments, which are really the heart of all of your record keeping within Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll discuss lesson plans, which are a very popular feature. Then we'll talk a little bit about reports, including the daily task list. And then we'll discuss workflows. What I mean by workflows are really just kind of the day-to-day usage of Homeschool Tracker, how you might use it within your homeschool. And we'll probably cover a little bit of that as we go, but we'll certainly recap it there at the end. And then finally, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first thing that we want to talk about is where to find help. So if you've spent any time within the program, you've probably noticed that it's a very feature-rich program. And there are certainly times when you might want to get some assistance. So I would say probably the best place for that is right here on these webinars. We do these pretty much once a month right now, and typically kind of at the beginning of the school year, we'll do those every other week, but right now we're on schedule to do about one every month. And you can certainly jump on here whenever you like to ask questions or just kind of learn more. You can always find when their next training session is by going to our website, homeschooltracker.com, then going to support and then clicking on Training Center. Here you'll find all of the upcoming training events, as well as the recordings to previous events. So all of the other getting started webinars are here, as well as a webinar that we did specifically on lesson planning. So if you're at all interested in lesson planning, I highly recommend checking out the replay for that, as we go really in depth on how to use lesson plans and how to set them up within your account. In addition to the webinars, I would recommend checking out our Getting Started tutorial videos. So if you can find those over on our help site, which is just help.homeschooltracker.com. And the Getting Started video guide is right here at the top. It's 11 different parts, and each video is only a few minutes, so altogether it'd take you about 30 minutes to watch all of these. And these are kind of nice because you can just jump straight to the specific area that you're hoping to learn more about. So in addition to the video guides, our help guide here is a great resource. So again, at help.homeschooltracker.com, you can find our help guide here, and it's really more of a reference guide, so you'll see it's kind of organized by topic here. So what I like to tell folks is that whenever you're in Homeschool Tracker, so here I am in the program, from any screen within Homeschool Tracker, I'm just going to go to the calendar view here. From any screen within here, if I want to get help on that screen, all I have to do is click on the help link up here in the top right, and that will take me directly to the corresponding help page for that screen. So this page in particular has anything and everything I want to know about the agenda calendar view, including links to other relevant areas. And so this is really a great comprehensive guide. The other trick that I'll tell you guys about is the search function here within the help guide. You can search for any kind of keyword or anything you're looking for help on. I'll just type in days off, And very quickly, I can jump to a link here that talks about how to set up days off within Homeschool Tracker. So again, definitely utilize this help guide. It's very deep and has all the information that you might need. And then certainly, last but not least, let's take a look here. Email. You can absolutely email us anytime at support@homeschooltracker.com. We answer each and every email that we receive, typically within 1 to 2 business days. So definitely don't hesitate to email us if you have any questions. We would be happy to help you. Okay, so now let's jump into the interface. We're going to do a quick tour of the menu and how it's broken up and where to find things. So let me jump back here. I'm just going to go back to the home page real quick. So when you log into Homeschool Tracker, you'll likely see a menu like this. You can always open or close that menu by clicking this little down arrow here. And the menu is broken up into 5 different areas. So up here on the top left, you have the schedules and planning section of the menu. And this is where you'll find the agenda, both in calendar view and list view. This is also where you'll find all of your lesson plans, as well as the shared lesson plan library. And we'll talk about all these different areas as we go through tonight. In the lower left, this is the students section of the menu. So this is where you'll find everything pertaining to your individual students. So you'll find the student list where you can add, remove, or edit students. You can find the grade levels where you can assign what grade level your students are in. The grading overview, this is where you can see each and every grade that your student has received over a given time period. The lesson plans and presets screen, this is where you can set up the lesson plans that apply to each individual student. We'll talk about that a little bit later. As well as the transcript supplemental. This is an area where you can add additional information that would be appended onto a student's transcript. In the middle section here, this is the reports section of the menu. And each one of these different reports can be generated as a PDF file, which you can download, print, or email to somebody. These include the attendance report, course list report, the daily task list, which we'll talk about later, report cards, transcripts, they're all right here in the reports section of the menu. And then in the top right, this is what we call the manage list section. And this is really more of a maintenance area of the program. And I say that because you're probably not in and out of these different areas on a day-to-day basis, but it's good to know where these exist, because if you ever need to add, edit, or remove an item, this is typically where you'll go. So for example, this is where you'll find the activities list, which is just that, a list of all the activities within your account. If you wanted to add a new activity or edit an activity, you would go to the activities list. Same goes for courses, for example. If you wanted to add or create a course or edit one, this is where you would go for that. So again, this is really more of a maintenance area, kind of where you go to add and edit things, but you probably won't be in there on a day-to-day basis necessarily. In the bottom right, this is the Your Account section of the menu. This is where you'll find your program options, where you can edit your school profile, and where you'll find your subscription and users page. This is where you could change your subscription settings, as well as set up user accounts so that students can log in on their own. So that's just a quick overview of the menu and kind of where to find things within Homeschool Tracker. So let's jump back here and talk a little bit about subjects and courses within the program. So within Homeschool Tracker, we like to think of subjects as really kind of these broad areas of study. So things like math, language arts, history, or science, really just broad kind of almost containers, if you will. In courses, however, those are the specific areas of studies within your homeschool that might fall beneath a specific subject. So for example, Algebra 2 might be the name of a course, and that would belong to the subject of math. Composition 1 would be the name of a course that might belong to the subject of language arts. And Physical Science 1 might be the name of a course that belongs to the subject of science. So again, you kind of have this hierarchy. Subjects are kind of the top level, and that's those really broad areas of study. And then beneath that, you might have different courses that are much more specific. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like within Homeschool Tracker. So I'm going to jump back to the program. And first thing I'm going to do is just go to the subjects list. So again, remember the manage list section of the menu. This is kind of our maintenance area. So if I wanted to add or edit or delete a subject, I would go to this section. So I'm going to go to subjects. And within subjects, you'll notice that I have 4 subjects currently. And again, really, these are the broad areas of study, right? History, language arts, math, or science. You'll also notice that there's not really a whole lot else going on here. So for example, if I double click on one of these, on history, I could change the name of it. I could change if it was a core subject or an elective. I can see all the courses that are assigned to this subject. I could make this subject active or inactive. But again, not a whole lot of settings here. If I wanted to create a new subject, I would just go to Action and Add to create a new one. But that's really all there is in the subject screen. But now let's go into courses. So if I click on the courses link, you'll notice right away there's a lot more information here because again, courses are much more specific, which also means that there are a lot more different options that you can tweak within a course. So for example, let me just open up this one, Ancient History 1. I'll open that and we see I have the name of the course. I have the name of the subject that it belongs to. I could give this course a code. I can let it know how many credit units it's worth, how those credit units are calculated, what grading scale it uses, is it using weighted grading? I can add some notes to this and I could set it to active or inactive. So already you can see that within a course, you can add a lot more information. Let's go ahead and add a new course. So I'm just going to choose Action and Add. And I'm going to create a new course called Reading 1. Oops. And for the subject, Reading 1 would belong to Language Arts. So I'll type in Language Arts. And I'm going to stop right there because as you probably noticed, as I was typing, Language Arts popped up. Now that's because this field here is what we call a smart entry field. And what a smart entry field does is as you're typing into it, it searches the corresponding list for anything that matches it. So in this case, it's searching the subjects list for anything that's matching what I'm typing in. And that means I can just go and click on Language Arts and know that I got the right one. Now, if I don't know the name of the subject, I could always just enter in a blank space and all of my subjects would show up here. So in this case, I will choose Language Arts. Now, all the rest of these settings, I'll just leave the default for now. But as I mentioned before, you can tweak all these. And if you want to set up different grading scales, that sort of thing, it's all available to you. So I'll go ahead and click Save. And then I'm going to click this green button to refresh. And there you go. I have a new course now called Reading 1. It's part of the Language Arts subject, and it's ready to go. So a few things just to kind of point out when it comes to subjects and courses. Typically, within a Homeschool Tracker account, we might see anywhere from, say, 4 to 10 subjects. Anything more than that, and you might want to start thinking about how you're organizing things. Now, courses, on the other hand, you could literally have hundreds of courses within your account, and they all kind of correspond to one of those 4 to 10 subjects. So just to give you an idea of how things are generally organized. Now, a few things to watch out for when it comes to subjects and courses. I would not recommend using the exact same name for both a subject and a course. So for example, if I had a subject called Language Arts, I would not recommend also having a course called Language Arts because you also want your naming to be to match kind of the subject in the course. So for example, a course name should be much more specific than a subject name. So if you have a subject called Language Arts, the course, even if it is Language Arts, it should be Language Arts 1 or Language Arts 2 or Freshman Language Arts or something like that. So that's much more specific. And that just helps you so that you know what you're looking at within the program. Am I looking at a subject? Am I looking at a course? Now, if you see a slash, and I'll show you this in a second, if you see a slash, that's basically showing the break between subject and course. So let's just take a quick look at what that looks like here. So I'm going to just jump to the agenda real quick and create a new assignment. And we'll show you how to do this in a second. But when you're creating a new assignment or a lot of different areas within the program, a lot of times we like to combine the subject and the course fields into one. And we call it subject/course. Because typically the course goes with a subject and vice versa. So if I were to assign this assignment to a specific course, let me just hit the space bar here. You'll see a list of all my subjects and a list of all my courses. So for example, right here, this first one, it says history. Now, since I don't see a slash or any other information, if it just says history, that means it's the subject history. Now below that, I see history/ancient history 1. That means that if I select this one, I'm selecting the course Ancient History 1, which belongs to the subject of history. So again, this slash here, subject/course, just shows that represents the break between the subject and the course. So again, you can see all of my subjects and all my courses here, and they're kind of organized that way. So language arts, the subject, and then language arts / CLE reading 1 is the course. CLE reading, or reading 2, I should say, is the course name. And that'll make more sense as we go along. All right. So now let's talk about assignments. So within Homeschool Tracker, we think of assignments as really anything that you physically assign to your students. It could be anything. It could be any kind of schoolwork tasks. So a lesson, homework, a field trip, a term paper, a test, they are all assignments within Homeschool Tracker. And so because of that, we think of assignments as really the heart of all of your record keeping within the program. Now, assignments can come from a couple different places. They can be created individually or in a series, and I'll show you how to do that. Or they can come from a lesson plan. And when a lesson plan goes through what we call the scheduler, it generates assignments for you. Now, assignments are really the heart of all your record keeping because of all the data that's in an assignment and the updating and things that you do with it, you can generate all of these different reports. So for example, based off of your assignments, you can generate a report card or a transcript. If you have auto attendance enabled, you can generate attendance records based off of your assignments. You can create the daily task list, which is kind of your to-do list based off your assignments. And all of those other additional reports that we looked at, generally speaking, they all come from all the data that you put into the assignments. So here's a basic assignment entry form, and we actually kind of just looked at this a second ago. But really, an assignment only requires a few necessary fields. So it requires a student, a subject course, and a date. It doesn't really need anything more than that, but obviously you see all these other additional fields, and the more information you add to it, the more powerful the assignment and your record keeping becomes. Now, an assignment, when it's marked complete by a teacher, a few things happen. Attendances can be recorded if you have auto attendance enabled. Grades can be generated if you're grading assignments. Time spent can be calculated. And again, all of those other reports can all be generated just by marking an assignment complete. So let's do a quick demo here. What we'll do is we'll create single and multiple assignments. We'll add grades to them and we'll mark them complete. And then we'll do that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. So I'm going to just go back to our home screen here. Now let's start in the calendar view. So in the top left, this is our agenda, both in calendar view and list view. So I'm going to choose agenda calendar view. And we're presented with a pretty basic calendar that you might expect. Now, what I want to do is I'm just going to create a new assignment. So I'm going to go to Add, Assignment Single right here. And this is that assignment entry form, right? So first thing I'll do is I'll choose a student. I'm going to choose my daughter, Campbell. And now for subject course, again, this is a smart entry field. So I'm just going to hit the space bar. And I'm going to choose Ancient History 1. Now activity can be anything. It could be a lesson, a quiz, a test, all of those different things. Again, it's a smart entry field, so I can hit the space bar. And I'm going to choose lesson. And now resource, again, it's a smart entry field. Resource refers to any item in my library that I've designated a resource. So I'll hit the space bar and I'm just going to pick one of these. I know that might not correspond to ancient history, but that's okay. PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. So this is just really any additional information you want to add. I'm just going to put in lesson 1. I'm going to choose a date for my assignment. I'm just going to choose today. I can also choose a start and end time if I like. I'll just do from 8 to 10 a.m. Points possible and points earned. This is if you're grading your assignments. So I could say that this is worth 10 points. The time spent here is automatically calculated based off of the start and end times that I put in. And then I can also add additional information like directions or notes or hyperlinks. But let's go ahead and save this. And there you have it, right on my calendar. Now I have an assignment from 8 to 10 a.m. It's for Ancient History 1, and it's lesson 1. If I double click on it, I can see a quick preview of it. And I can also click on More to do any editing of it. So that's how you would create a single assignment. Now, let's say, in thinking about workflow, let's say I created this assignment and our day kind of came and went, and it's the end of the day now, and I want to go in and grade this assignment. All I have to do is just kind of open it up here, and I will go ahead and grade it. I'm going to give her a 9 out of 10. And then I'm going to check this box for teacher complete. Now, when I check that box, you'll notice that it calculated a grade of 90%. If I click on save, a few things happen. So first off, this got a little bit darker in color just to show that that assignment had been completed. And it generated this purple Campbell present thing here. And this is an attendance record. So this happens because I have automatic attendance enabled in my program options. And basically what that does is it says, if there's a completed assignment on a given day, that means that the student was likely there that day. So let's go ahead and create an attendance record. Now you can turn that on or off or change the settings of it, but it's kind of handy so that you don't have to manually create those. Okay, so let's now, so I should mention, creating single assignments like this and then marking them complete, that's a perfectly acceptable workflow. And a lot of folks do that each and every day. So you might think, maybe the morning of or the night before the day, I'll go in and create all my assignments. And then at the end of the day, I can go in, grade them, and mark them complete and be ready to go. So let's go ahead and now create multiple assignments at once. So I'm just going to go to Add, Assignment Multiple. And I'm presented with kind of a wizard, right? So all these different tabs here are different stages in the wizard that helps me create multiple assignments at once. So first off, I can choose what students I want this to apply to, which is kind of nice. I can create multiple assignments for more than one student at a time. I'm just going to choose Campbell. I can choose my subject course. I'll choose Ancient History 1. I can choose an activity and a resource. And then again, I can choose start and end times if I like. And I'll make these worth 10 points also. And then I'll continue to day and date. That just takes me to the next tab here. I'm going to have this happen every day. And I want it to start tomorrow. And I can continue creating items until a specific end date if I like. Or I can use this option, which says continue creating items until PLC pattern is exhausted. I'm going to choose that one so I can show you what that does. So I'll continue to PLC. And again, PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. Now, if you think about PLC, chances are it won't be the same PLC for each assignment that you create, right? Because you might think that the PLC would automatically increment over time. So the first day it might be lesson 1, the second day it might be lesson 2, etc. So we have these tools here to allow us to automatically increment that PLC as we create multiple assignments. So I'm going to choose a 1-part auto increment. And I'm going to change the leading text to lesson. And I'm going to start with lesson 2, actually, because I created lesson 1 already. And I'm going to end with lesson, 2, 3, let's go to 4. And I'm going to increment by 1. So if I continue to preview, what that does is it generates a preview of what I'm about to create. So this is, again, it's just a preview screen here. So it's about to create these 3 assignments. One for Wednesday, and that's lesson 2, one for Thursday, lesson 3, and one for Friday, lesson 4. Now, if I'm happy with this, I'll just go ahead and select all of these, and then choose Accept Selected Items. And what that'll do is it'll save them to my agenda. So let's go ahead and do that. And there you go. I just created 3 more assignments, and they automatically increment from lesson 2 to lesson 3 to lesson 4. So that's how you create multiple assignments at once. So pretty powerful tools there. Before we jump over to the list view, I just want to kind of go over a few things on this screen here. At the top, you have these blue tabs. These are basically filters. So as I change any items on here, it'll change what's being displayed in the calendar below. So for example, I could choose to not view attendance records, and that attendance record goes away. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. Below that is an export to PDF button. If I click on that, it'll generate a PDF file of my current calendar, which is great because I could print that out if I like or email it. Below that are kind of the navigation between the dates, kind of like you would imagine on a calendar. And then below that is an option to show the full day, which starts at midnight and goes all the way to midnight, or to show school hours. And you can set up the school hours within your program options. So just a quick overview of all the calendar options here. But let's jump over to the list view. So like I said before, the agenda comes in both calendar view as well as list view, and they each have their own pros and cons. So let me jump over to the list view. And right away, you might recognize this kind of list paradigm that we saw earlier. But keep in mind, I'm looking at the same data for the agenda that I was on the calendar, but I can use it and manipulate it in different ways. So right away, I can see all my different assignments and my attendance record, but I can kind of get a quick glance at all of these different fields here, which is really helpful. Now, just to quickly go over this screen, in the left here in this green column, you have all of your different filters. So I can choose what date range I want to view. I can turn on and off different types of items, just like we could before on the calendar. And then right here in the middle, this is all of the data itself. And each one of these columns, you can sort by these columns. So I'm sorting by date. You can group by this column. So if I wanted to group all the different types, I can just take this column and drag it up here. And now I'm grouping by item type. So really powerful grouping and sorting tools here within the list view. But one of the best features of the list view is my ability to manipulate or edit more than one item at a time. So on the calendar view, if I wanted to edit something, I'd have to open just that item, make a change, and save it. Here in the list view, I can select more than one item at a time. And if I wanted to edit all three of these assignments, I could go to Action, Multi-Edit, and now I can edit all three of these at once. So for example, if I wanted to grade all of these at once, I'm going to give her an 8 out of 10 on all three of them. And I wanted to mark all three of them complete. I could go ahead and do that and click Save. And there you go. Now, all of my assignments have been marked complete. I have grades of 80% for these three. And you'll also notice that it generated attendance records for all three of those too, because I marked it complete. So really powerful tools here on the list view. And definitely a little bit different than the calendar view, but it's nice to have both options. So depending on what you're trying to do, you always have the ability to do it within Homeschool Tracker. Okay, so just to recap, we were able to create single and multiple assignments. We added grades to them and we marked them complete. We did that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick sip of water here. All right, so cruising right along, let's talk about lesson plans. Now, lesson plans are a really popular feature within Homeschool Tracker. I will say it's a little bit more of an advanced feature. So if you're just starting out, maybe hold off on lesson plans until you get really comfortable with just kind of doing assignments and the subjects and courses and everything. But lesson plans are certainly very popular and can be really powerful. So what a lesson plan is, it's a sequence of items that have not yet been scheduled as assignments. So they look a whole lot like assignments, except they're missing a few things. They don't have a student, they don't have a date yet. It's really just a sequence of kind of assignment templates that are ordered together as a lesson plan. So this is perfect if you want to plan everything out in detail all at once, or if you have a predefined curriculum. So if you bought curriculum kind of off the shelf, it likely came with a lesson plan. And you could create that in Homeschool Tracker or perhaps import it from the shared lesson plan library. The other nice thing is that these lesson plans and the items in them are not tied to a particular student. So that means they can be reused over and over again. So for example, if you create a lesson plan for freshman biology for your oldest student, when your youngest student gets to freshman biology, you can use that same lesson plan again. The other nice thing is that these can be shared and imported using our shared lesson plan library. So our shared lesson plan library currently has over 1,000 lesson plans in it, and most of them are based off of kind of off-the-shelf curriculum. This is also nice if, for example, you're part of a group or a co-op and you're kind of working on a lot of the same curriculum. You can have one member of the group create the lesson plan and share it with everybody else. So let's go ahead and do a little demo here. So what we'll do is we'll see an example lesson plan. We'll create a simple lesson plan. If we have time, we might import a plan from the shared lesson plan library, and then we'll schedule a lesson plan and create assignments out of it and discuss using presets as well. So let's jump back here. And what we'll do is we'll go over to our lesson plan screen. Now, if you, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's okay. If you are new to Homeschool Tracker, you probably don't have any lesson plans in here yet, but I'll show you how to create one. So I'm just gonna load up this lesson plan here for Abeka Arithmetic first grade. And now, first off, you'll probably notice that this screen looks a lot like the agenda list view. And that's because we're just trying to use a lot of the same paradigms within the program. So on the left here, you have your filters. In the middle section, you have all the data. So this is a lesson plan for math. And you'll notice that each one of these items, if I open one, it looks a whole lot like an assignment, right? But it's missing a few things, right? It doesn't have a date and it doesn't have a student. It has everything else though. That's why we like to almost think of it like an assignment template, right? And if you look at the sequence of these, they're ordered by what day you would do these on. And the way that it goes in this case is, day 1 is lesson 1, day 2 is lesson 2, day 3 is lesson 3, etc. And then you get to day 12 and there's an oral test. And also on day 12, there's another test. Those are each worth 100 points. Then the lessons pick back up. And then on day 17, another oral test and another written test. Now, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll notice that this goes for 171 days. There's over 200 items in this. So this is really a whole year's worth of arithmetic lessons already kind of loaded up and ready to go. So that's why, again, like I said, this is great if you have a predefined curriculum, or if you really just want to plan everything out in advance, you can have it kind of ready and waiting. And then you can schedule it to create assignments out of it for your students. So let's go ahead and create a plan just so that we can see how that works. So I'm going to go to Add. I'm going to choose Add Multiple. And now when I'm adding new lesson plan items, it's automatically going to default to my current lesson plan, but I can just delete that and create a new plan. So I'm going to create a plan called Sample Plan 2. I already have a sample plan. So I'm going to call it Sample Plan 2. And just by putting in a new name there, it's going to create that when we go and save these. So let's pick a subject course. I'm going to choose Ancient History and an activity. These will be lessons. Go ahead and pick a resource. And these will all be worth 10 points. Now I'll continue to day numbers. And now remember, this kind of feels a lot like adding multiple assignments, right? But for day numbers, I'm going to start on day 1 and increment by 1. Then I'm going to go to PLC. And again, PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. I'm going to auto increment these starting with lesson 1 and ending with lesson 10. Now I'll continue to preview. So here's my preview. I'm about to create 10 lesson plan items, starting with lesson 1 and ending with lesson 10. So I'll go ahead and select all of these and then choose Accept Selected Items. And now I'm going to load that plan here. It's called Sample Plan 2. And there you go. So I just created a sample lesson plan with 10 items in it, and it goes from lesson 1 to lesson 10. Now, let's say I want to add a test to the end of this. I can just choose Add Single. And let's fill this out real quick. I'm going to call this a test, and it'll be worth 100 points. And I'll save it. Now, it ended up here at the top because I didn't add a day number to it, so it defaulted to day 0. But really, I want it on day 11, right? So I'm going to change this to day 11 and click Save. So there you go. I have a 10-day lesson plan and with lessons 1 through 10, and then on day 11, we have a test. So pretty quick and easy to create a lesson plan. Obviously, I could continue this process and create all 180 days of this lesson, for example. But if you are really into lesson plans, I definitely recommend checking out that lesson planning webinar replay that we did, because we share with you a bunch of kind of tips and techniques for creating these lesson plans really efficiently so that you can do it fast and easy. All right. So let's see. I think we're going to skip over importing a lesson plan for right now, but we're going to jump to scheduling a lesson plan, and we'll discuss using presets as well. So here's this lesson plan that I have. Let's say I want to go ahead and now use this lesson plan. Okay, we've created it, but now I want to go ahead and use it. I want to schedule this so that I can create assignments from it. So what I can do is I can choose which items I want to schedule. I'm going to choose the first 5 days, and then I can just choose Action, Scheduler. Now I can schedule it for more than one student if I like. I'm going to choose Campbell, and I'm going to go to Continue Today and Date. Now I'm going to have this happen every day, and I'm going to choose a start and end time. I'm going to have it start at 10 and go to 12. And the start date, I'm actually going to have it start on Monday, even though that's in the past, because I just want to show you on this week. And I will continue until all selected items in the lesson plan are used. Now, remember, I only selected 5, so it's going to continue until all 5 of those are used. Now I'll continue to preview. And here's my preview. So I've got day 1 will be on Monday, day 2 will be on Tuesday, so on and so forth for my first 5 items here. So I'll select these and then choose Accept Selected Items. And now you'll notice, and I should point this out, so we're still on the lesson plan screen, right? And we just scheduled the first 5 days. You'll notice here on the lesson plan screen, nothing really changed, right? Those 5 days are still there. And that's because lesson plans are, again, they're just kind of templates, right? So I didn't really do anything to these, but I used them to create assignments out of them, right? So this lesson plan, because it's always here, I can do that again. I could pick those same 5 days and schedule them for someone else. And that could be today, or it could be tomorrow, or it could be 5 years from now. It really doesn't matter because I've used these as a template to create assignments. So now if I jump to the agenda, you'll notice, and these are the ones that I just created, these 5 here. You'll notice that these were just created from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I have 5 of them, 1 through 5, and each one of these is slightly different. So that's how you would go about scheduling a lesson plan. And so now thinking about workflow, you could imagine if you had all of your lesson plans set up, or just a few, you could go in at the beginning of the week, select which ones you want to schedule them for the week, and you're good to go. But let's go ahead and show you another way of scheduling. So that method of scheduling is kind of what I call kind of the basic scheduler, right? You go into the lesson plan, select which ones you want, and then you hit schedule. Well, we have a more advanced scheduler as well. If you go to the lesson plans and presets page, what you can do there is you can set up which lesson plans you want to be active for your student. And what active means, it means active using this kind of advanced scheduler. So right here I have Campbell selected, and she currently has 6 plans that she is actively using in this advanced scheduler. Now I'm going to jump to preset. And when I go to the preset screen, you'll notice it looks a lot like a calendar, except there's no dates. It's just kind of the days of the week. And what the presets are, these are preset times that I've set up throughout the week of when I want that particular subject course to occur. So that when I run the scheduler, I can choose preset as an option, and it'll schedule those lesson plan items on these specific preset days and times. So you'll notice from 9 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, I have that set aside for Ancient History 1. From 10 to 11 is spelling. From 11 to 12 is either first grade math or grammar. And then physical science from 1 to 2, and math from 2 to 3. So those are my presets. If I wanted to add a new preset, I could just click on Add, choose which subject course, and create a time for it. Now I'm going to jump to the scheduler. And this scheduler is, again, what I call our advanced scheduler. This screen does take a little bit longer to load. There we go. So here we go. I've got 6 lesson plans all selected. It shows me how many lesson plan items are in there, when I last used it, If I go to continued day and date, now I'm about to schedule these for Campbell. Now, instead of choosing a daily or weekly option, I'm going to choose the preset option right here. And then I need to choose a start date. So I will choose next Monday, the 6th. And then I can choose an end date. I could continue creating or continue until all remaining items in the lesson plans are used. Don't want to do that because I literally have hundreds of items in those lesson plans, and it would just schedule it out for the next several months or something. And I really only want to schedule next week right now. So I will continue until Friday of next week, the 10th. So I'm really just going to schedule just next week, and I'll continue to preview. So now remember, it's scheduling 6 lesson plans over 5 days and using those preset times. So here's my preview. This is 44 items. You'll notice on Monday, I've got 9 to 10 a.m. Ancient History 1. On Tuesdays, 10 to 11 is all about spelling, and so on. So with just a few clicks, I'm able to generate 44 items for next week, and they're all very specific to the time that they're happening, and the subjects and courses and the lesson plans and everything are all very specific to exactly what I wanted. So I can choose select all and then accept. And now if I go, once this loads, what it did, it just created those 44 assignments for me. Now if I go to my agenda and go to next week, there you go. You can see I have 44 items on the calendar now, and each one of these is unique. So this is Ancient History 1, and it has very specific directions for that particular lesson. Same goes for this spelling lesson and these grammar lessons. So again, when we think about workflow, this is probably the ultimate workflow, right? Where you have lesson plans for each of your courses, you have preset times for them, and then at the beginning of every week, for example, on Sunday night, you could come in here, go to lesson plans and presets, schedule everything for the week, and you're done in just a few minutes. So really powerful option. So let's just recap real quick. We saw an example lesson plan. We created a simple one. We scheduled a lesson plan kind of using our basic scheduler as well as our more advanced scheduler. All right, so let's talk a little bit about reports right now. So like I mentioned at the beginning, reports can be created as PDF files that you can save, you can print them, or you can send them. And the daily task list is a great report to use on a day-to-day basis. We'll go over that here in a second. In transcripts and report cards, these can be generated as long as you have at least one completed and graded assignment in a course. So you can't generate a report card or a transcript if you're not using grades, first of all, and you can't do it if you haven't marked any assignments complete for that particular time period. But as soon as you mark at least one assignment complete and it has grades for a given semester or time period, then you can generate a transcript or report card. But let's jump back here real quick and take a look at the daily task list. So I'm going to go to the daily task list right here in the reports section. And I have a bunch of different parameters that I can choose here of what I want to be included or excluded in my daily task list. I'm going to keep all these kind of the default for right now. I'm doing this for Campbell and for all subjects and courses. I'm going to change the date to next week, that entire week that we just scheduled. And then I'm going to click on Generate Report. And then I'll click on Pick Up Report once it's generated. And that downloads a PDF file. And here it is. So this is the daily task list for all of next week. So here's my list of tasks for Monday, kind of in order with all the information that I had selected. And then Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and so on. So in 4 pages here, I have each and every assignment for Campbell for next week. And so this is a great resource if you want to print it out. You could put it on a bulletin board or on a clipboard or something, and it's kind of right there, easy access. Or if you're kind of working remotely, you could print it out or you can save it and email it to your student, and they can take a look at it that way as well. So again, the daily task list is a really powerful tool. to use to generate a report of agenda items. Okay. So just to recap on the workflows, right? We covered a number of different possible workflows. So you can certainly create and complete single assignments on a daily basis. There's a lot of folks that do this, and it's even probably the way I would recommend starting out. One of the things we didn't mention earlier, when creating single or multiple assignments on a daily basis, that's a great thing to do, in the morning or the night before if you want to kind of set up your day. But it's also a great thing to do in reverse. So, for example, if you are an unschooler or if you're not really a big planner, but you still want to use Homeschool Tracker to keep track of all your records, you could go in at the end of the day and just create assignments for the things that you did that day. Grade them, mark them complete, do whatever you would do. And then Homeschool Tracker really becomes more of a logging tool instead of a planning tool. And that's totally fine. And I think that's really the beauty of the program, is that it can be anything you need it to be. So, and that might be even a good way to start using it if you're just starting out. A lot of folks are coming with, say, a binder or some off-the-shelf curriculum that already has like a lesson plan in it, or they just have another way that they like to plan, and that's totally fine. But you still will need to keep track of your records somewhere, and so that's where Homeschool Tracker can really be great when you're just starting out, is that at the end of the day, you could just go in and create the assignments that you did that day and save them, and then that you've got everything saved and ready to go. Now, more advanced workflows include using lesson plans and scheduling your students 1 or 2 weeks at a time. I definitely recommend only scheduling 1 or 2 weeks at a time. There's this temptation to create a lesson plan or even create multiple assignments and have them scheduled for the entire year at once. I don't recommend doing that, mainly because it becomes challenging and makes it become a little bit more inflexible if you need to move things around. It's really powerful if you just schedule just 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And that means that you are kind of in the program a little bit more. And if you need to move things around, it's a little bit easier to handle. All right. So I think that's it. Wow, we made some good time. So happy to answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to submit them just using that Q&A button there in your viewer. And I'm happy to stay on as late as necessary to answer any questions that you may have. But again, like I said before, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will send a recording of this to you as soon as it's available. And we'll also send you a survey too, just to kind of ask you for your feedback on these training events and see if there's anything that you would like to see in future ones. But again, feel free to submit any questions that you might have, and I'd be happy to answer them. One thing I will mention for all of you that are online tonight, and this is something we do every time for new folks especially, is if you are online tonight, we absolutely appreciate it. And so what we will do is we will credit your account. Basically, we'll extend your account an additional month, totally on us. So essentially, it's a free month on us because we know just how much it means. It just means so much to us that you would spend some time with us on a Tuesday night to learn more about Homeschool Tracker. So what I'll do when we conclude tonight is I'll go through all the records of who was online, and I will extend your account an additional month, totally on us. So greatly appreciate you being online tonight for us. Christy asked a question. She asked, if I have any questions later, can I send them by email to get some help? Of course, absolutely. Email us anytime, support@homeschooltracker.com. And any question you have, Christy, and I know you will have, everyone has questions, right? Because as you go into it, you're like, wait a minute, what do I do at this point? Or how should I set this part up, or whatever it might be? Just email us. Happy to answer any and all questions you have. Sherry, as well as my wife, Amy, they monitor the email box all the time and typically respond within at least a day, but definitely within 1 to 2 days. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all. Any other questions for tonight, though? Feel free to submit those, and I'm happy to answer them. All right. It looks like we don't have any other questions, so I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you do have questions in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out, support@homeschooltracker.com. Thanks again for being online tonight, and we hope to see you guys again soon. Have a good night.